As vacancy rates for commercial space rise, billboard-type advertising on storefronts is becoming an increasingly familiar sight. Is this the start of a trend or a sign of the times? One of the pioneers of this kind of advertising is Inwindow Outdoor, an advertising firm based in Soho here in New York. Jeff Cohen is in charge of the firm's business development, and he says business has been expanding exponentially. Mr. Cohen, welcome to Bloomberg News. Before we get into this expansion, tell our viewers about the genesis of this. When did this start?
This started in 2002 with our CEO, Steve Bernhack. He had an idea, was walking past a storefront and had seen some products in a window that had nothing to do with the building that it was in. He took that and started taking bus shelter ads and hanging them inside the windows one by one. It was a relatively successful product. I hooked up with them in about 2004, 2005. Where I came on as a partner, and we took the product and grew it into something much, much larger, both from a cosmetic perspective, as posters blew up to fit the entire facade, and then started incorporating lots of technology into the glass.
Now, we talked when you came in studio, and it's interesting. It seems like it's one of those things you say, why didn't anybody else think of that? It seems like even in this economy, it's a win-win type of deal.
Yeah, you know, I speak about this a lot. There's a lot of products out there that have some positive aspects to it, but if you look deep enough, you'll find some negativity in there as well.
Right.
I have looked, and this is one of the things in life that are truly a genuine win-win for everyone involved on a very small level as it affects individual landlords, and on a much larger level as it affects communities that have a depressed look to it because of all the increased vacancies.
And speaking of the commercial vacancies, you see them rising, as we mentioned in the intro, expanding exponentially. Are you seeing that even in this economy?
In terms of the expanding vacancies?
Absolutely, and not just the vacancies, but your ability to advertise on those vacant properties.
Absolutely. In the beginning, it was more difficult to get landlords to sign up. No one knew what the concept was, and at this point in time, we're really more of a savior to a lot of landlords who are looking to extract some revenue from a vacant piece of real estate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's having a piece of vacant real estate never has to mean not having income anymore, and we're able to do this for them, and the advertisers are happy to be there. And you take something that's a relatively down situation where you have a business that may have gone out and now there's a vacant hole there, and we fill that for the advertisers and for the landlords, and everyone wins.
And you know, I'm sure our listeners and viewers want to know, comparatively speaking, this type of advertising versus traditional advertising, what are you seeing?
Well, we're definitely in the alternative world right now, although we're aggressively moving into what is becoming, you asked if it was a trend earlier, into a mainstream traditional billboard product, with one huge added benefit. Because of the inherent nature of what this is, there's a vacancy, there's a empty space behind the glass. That glass acts as a safe house for all of these beautiful technology providers that come in with products that we project onto the glass, and it gives the storefront the added versatility that billboards could never do. It could manifest into almost any animal that the advertiser wants because of its versatile nature.
Would an advertiser get a comparable return on his or her investment?
Absolutely. We seem to feel that the impact is much greater than in many cases where you'd have a regular billboard. It's at street level, and it's very important to remember. There's a retail component. The ad is a fused combination of a giant aesthetic and with the retail presence behind it. And when you have, again, all the technologies we bring in there, you're able to do things that the others couldn't, and that brings tremendous value to the advertising community.
Can you give me a sense on how this has affected neighborhoods where you put these signs up? If one store says, you know what, let's give it a shot, and you put, for example, say a Bloomberg advertisement up there, are the other stores in the neighborhood, the stores that may be vacant, do they get a sense that, you know what, this is not a bad idea?
You know what? They do.
Is there a domino effect is what I'm asking?
Oh, absolutely, and that's a great way to phrase it. When you walk down the street and you see a vacant piece of real estate there, and you see another one across the street, as you were saying, you look at it and you say, you know, is there something we can do with the space? This is how I walk down the street. Everything to me is an opportunity at this point.
Sure.
I can't get down the block. And one of the first things that we say to landlords, our real estate team, is, look, you just spent $100 million renovating a building. It's a Class A commercial office tower. There is repointed bricks on the building. You did the glass over. You put new cooling towers in. And the first thing people see is this piece of vacant real estate. And
right.
There's a ladder in the window and a for lease sign peeling off, and it looks terrible. Once we come in, we say to everyone, look, I'm going to dress up your space. I'm going to make it look beautiful. The advertising community is banking on the fact that it's going to look beautiful. And I'm going to pay you while I do it until you find a tenant. And it's an incredibly compelling argument to make to a landlord. And so that's the effect.
It's an interesting argument. It's almost like you can't get someone to buy your house, so you rent it out. At least you make a return on your investment as opposed to it sitting empty.
After all these years, I've never quite phrased it that way, but it's not a bad analogy.
Let me ask you, we have about 30 seconds left.
Sure.
Eventually, the economy is going to recover. How's that going to affect business?
Well, look, the breadth of our real estate is increasing in a very, very aggressive manner, and some of that is due to the vacancies increasing, and it's a corollary. But we're just scratching the surface here. This medium is, well, I should say, it has the potential to be as large as any multinational traditional billboard company like a CBS or a JCDecaux. I think that regardless of whether the spaces contract or expand, we're just scratching the surface. There always is going to be a great amount of vacancy for us to generate some great revenue and do some fun things.
Jeff Cohen, managing partner at Inwindow Outdoor, joining us in studio. And there was a nice article about this in the New York Times today as well.
Thank you for the reference, yes.
Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Is confidence in the economy rising? We asked, you answered. Bloomberg terminal users around the world tell us what they're thinking about the global economy. We'll have that when we come back. Stay with us.